Here on the morning that I'm leaving, the weather finally cooled down. In fact, it's kind of cold down here right now. The wind really picked up. Got the sands blowing off the beach here. I wonder if I could feel it if I walk through it. Nope, guess not. Look at that. And the sand just zipping across the beach. That's actually kind of cool. The contrast with the waves over here, the sand, with the wind blowing me over. Wow, check these waves out. Pretty crazy. I don't see anybody out here swimming this morning. I wonder what that would be like. Ships are still going out though. Wow, now that's pretty picturesque. Here's the indoor pool at the hotel I was staying. I kind of wonder why you need a swimming pool when you got an ocean out here. You can see it. And then you think, clear, fresh water, no salt, no seaweed, no huge waves, no sharks. Okay, now I get it. After all the fish and local ghosts had gotten sick of me, not to mention a few of the volunteers at the two old mansions, I decided to end up my Galveston trip by indulging in my love of history addiction. And this took me to the Galveston Navel Museum. A little jaunt which included a trip across a bridge and over to Pelican Island and on to Sea Wolf Park. Now this is a cool little peninsula where you can wander around, have a picnic, and watch the ships floating up to Houston. Of course, I discovered all of this after I got back home and saw the website. While there, I just saw it as a parking lot for the Naval Museum. I had no idea that it stretched onward. Now, if I had known that, I could have wandered down and, I don't know, taken some more pictures of waves maybe? Now there were guys out there actually fishing off that pier. I don't know how. It was so freaking windy. Now the museum is the home of a couple of World War II treasures. The first was an escort destroyer called the USS Stewart. And just the sight of it got all of my history geek juices all flowing. Besides, my dad was in the Navy during World War II, so it's kind of a family thing, so to speak. I'm at the Galveston Naval Museum. Here on the deck of a destroyer from World War II. There's a gun. Can imagine setting up here during a war. Hopefully it wasn't quite this windy. When my dad was in the Navy, he would have been here. He was a signalman. Flags go there. He still had his flags. And way over here, well, that's a big light that you flash out Morse code with. I just kind of wonder how far away you can see that. Some little boy was telling me that these things didn't work. Darn! I was wanting to blow some stuff up, man. Here were the officer quarters. Boy, they're living in the lap of a luxury here. Well, such as it was. Wonder what they did here. Indeed, it was kind of cool to be standing on the deck of a boat where I wasn't trying to carry out a decent cast. But the next dive back into the past required no deck. This was the World War II submarine, the USS Cavallo. Here I quickly learned that submarines were not the place for guys who stand 6'2". Yeah, I was having a hard enough time just saying Cavala. Cavala. Cavala?
How did you get through this, Ben?
There's the torpedo room in the submarine. I'm guessing people slept down. They slept down here with the torpedoes? Okay, maybe you should try to up your class a little bit. I like this sign. Stealing is illegal. Put the torpedoes in the chute and then they blow something up. Sounds simple enough. Submarines were not made for tall people. I can see that right now, just judging by this door. Officers' quarters in the submarine. Okay. I guess they're not bringing a lot of furniture with them. Kind of reminds me of my college dorm room. Here's the quarters for the submarine. I would say no space goes unused. I'm getting claustrophobic just touring this thing. I can imagine being in this thing when you're going underwater or being shot at, or it was a pretty daring life for these guys. Just getting through these doorways is challenging enough. I never saw the periscope. Maybe that's in this section. We didn't go up there. At the periscope. Maybe that's their FM antenna. I don't know. CB antenna. Who knows?
The Galveston Navel Museum is a cool change of pace when hanging down on the Gulf Coast. I mean, you go down to Galveston to enjoy the water. While there, you might as well go check out something that was designed to blow things out of the water. Right? Now, after a few regrets of not joining the Navy right out of college, I left Pelican Island with all the wind and the waves and drove myself to the Galveston Railroad Museum to see some trains. I first learned of the Galveston Railroad Museum when my pub crawl tour started on the steps of the old railroad depot. Now, just the mention of the place lit up my history geek meter a bit. So, off I went to see some trains. Now, being the old train station, the museum lobby itself is pretty impressive. And you have to wonder what it looked like back in the day when hundreds of people were arriving in Galveston by rail every day. I also kind of wondered how many of the local working girls from the city's 50 brothels were hanging out here trying to drum up a little business. Now, when I first entered the museum, I saw a bunch of toy trains, or collectibles, as we adults like to call them. And there was also plenty of history to skim through and a few cool artifacts to gaze upon. But I was there to see some real trains, by gosh.
Here at the Galveston Train Museum, lots of trains, but what I find fascinating is the caboose. Because the caboose is what we always waited for when we were counting the cars, watching the train come in or drive by. My mom would always say, "Wave at the conductor," and I guess this is where he sat, right here. And he'd sit in this chair and he'd always wave at us through that window. I'm not sure what the conductor did. I guess he sat in his chair and waved at kids. Someone had to do it. Well, that's a lot of steel. Gotta be scared to get near one of those things running. Going into a dining car here. There's actually a restaurant up in South Dakota that's in a train car, kind of like this. Pretty cool. Don't remember the carpet. This is what you call a luxury. I've never ridden on a passenger train before. Judging by the seats here, it doesn't look that much different than riding on a, I don't know, passenger jetliner, except a little more leg room and a little less possibility of crashing. Well, I'll say that, who knows. But I don't know why we don't use trains more in this country. I don't know. This looks like a comfortable way to travel. See the scenery? Well, not out of these windows. But anyway, I don't know why we don't use trains. I'd take a train. It'd be kind of cool, really. Ooh, we have like tables in here. Ooh, this car's gone a little more back in time. I like the beds up here. Look at those hangers. That shows you how old this is. I don't know, I guess you can stretch out here too. For some reason I feel like Jesse James should be jumping up here and trying to rob me or something. Yeah, this is probably way after the James boys. But it's kind of cool looking. I wouldn't mind traveling this way. I guess this is where all the guys sit around and smoke cigars while they're traveling, or I don't know, maybe the kids just sat there and went, "Mommy, are we there yet? Are we there yet?" Kind of cool contrast here. We have this old passenger railroad car. And over here, we have a Carnival cruise ship, which maybe you could see a lot better if that building wasn't in the way, but you get the idea. This looks interesting. Let's go over this way. The train simulator. Teach you how to drive a train. I was going way too fast, but that's just the way I am. I'm a rebel engineer. Alright, thanks.
Now, the Railroad Museum is a pretty cool place to wander around in for an hour or two. But why stop there? You can plan a formal dinner in those cars. You can book a night in those cars. Have your kid's birthday party in those cars. Wow. You can even have your wedding there. Now, how cool is that?
The Mob Bar. These guys might want to think about changing the name of their establishment. Actually, that's on one of my haunted tours. Somebody jumped off that building right there to their death. The weird thing about it was only 2 stories, or 3 stories, but they got hit first. Some girl jumped off like the 5th floor of that building. Yeah, a lot of people jumping off buildings around here. Oh, this building over here, my guy called that the cheese grater. Alright. Now, big horror story. Where did I park?
So there's a look at my fine times in Galveston, Texas. Now, I went there in October, and the weather was still warm enough for a little beach and waves action. I mean, this is southern Texas after all, right? But I wanted to show that there were plenty of things to do in Galveston that doesn't involve sand and surf. A trip to Galveston is just a cool little getaway. So, any vacation regrets? Well, I still wish I would have checked out Seawolf Park a bit more and had a chance to take in that Haunted Bay tour. And maybe that dolphin viewing tour as well. Then there's the Pleasure Pier. And a lot of nice restaurants. And, well, next time, life's short. Go somewhere. Go here. So I'm stuck here in traffic in Houston, Texas on my way home. But I get this wonderful opportunity to soak in the Houston skyline, which is something I don't get to do very often. So I'll just sit here and enjoy the scenery.